we're gonna go a little bit more in, because I like him to speak about everything that he has sent us on Vista DM on Facebook, because he has a lot of information that actually coincide with the tribal information that we know traditionally. So, Vincent, we're gonna go ahead on and pass the talking stick to you. So we pass the talking stick to you. You got it.
All right, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come talk with y'all, and hopefully we can share and learn about this site. And the topic on this that I'd like to present on is the clan symbols that were found in North Carolina. And this is a site called the Garden Creek site, excavated from 1879 to 1880. And they found 2,500 steatite and pottery sculptures in the mound called the Garden Creek site. And what I've done is compared the figurines and sculptures they found with the clan symbols, and found that there is a one-to-one correlation. So there are really important figurines that represent each clan symbol. And so I'll jump right in, and if I can share, I'll share my screen and see if I can present this.
Yes, sir. And also, how long did it take you to do this work that you actually about to show us?
And I started doing this work in 2003 when I was a volunteer at the museum, and at the museum the um, symbols found at the Cahokia Mound site were correlating with this cross hatching. A lot of them had cross hatching all over the sandstone and steatite artifacts, as well as pottery that were found there. So then I started researching what the significance of that cross hatching is, and found out that it's an important spirit symbol, and that then I found there's a lot more of these that were excavated in North Carolina, which is home to the Cherokee previously, and even before that, the Yuchi and Yamasee. A lot of tribes have lived there, and there's an extensive long history at the site, and so that's kind of the history of how I got started on this. And so the symbols found at the site include things like the clan symbols of the paint clan. Well, when they excavated this in 1915, George High came to the site. He found an apple tree growing on the mound, and underneath the apple tree, he found 2 sheets of mica, and below that there was a bitumen layer about 6 inches in diameter, and then there was red clay, white clay, yellow clay, and below that there was ashes and 2 shark's teeth, and then there was a large nodule of chert or flint. He called it flint. Not sure if it was a figurine or not, but that was below these layers. Each layer was about an inch thick with the paint colors of the clan symbols. So
Hmm.
George High was the guy that founded the Native American Museum, and well, he excavated this at the site. And as we go through, I'll show other examples, like the daddy longlegs is a clan symbol as well. And these are very good representations of the daddy longlegs. That the spider is, um, known to be a clan symbol, and there's a lot of interesting things that the clans can learn from these animals. There's it's said that the daddy longlegs is the most venomous spider, but it can't bite people, so that's why people don't get hurt by it. And it's a harvester as well. I mean, it'll collect insects in its web, and daddy longlegs is one of the clan symbols that were carved into stone there. And then there's a alligator. The alligator symbol was found at the site too. This one is steatite, And this is currently in the Smithsonian Institute, and it has uh, a symbol, letters here written on it. These letters represent they resemble the Cherokee alphabet. So it looks like that it says the immortals. The term, the word or etymology of the phonetics of the words resemble the Cherokee words for um, that those who do not die or the immortals. And this one here is a horse carving that was found at the site, and so it correlates well with the horse and arrow clan. And so these did have symbols on them. I mean, a lot of them show like movement. The horse, these arrows or lines coming from the back of the arrow, and a lot of careful carving. These are carved in bas relief, and so they have a lot of intricate details. We'll see as we go through these. The horse arrow clan is an important clan, and the B symbol is another one that's interesting. This
Now,
Go ahead.
the the pottery that you have with the horse on it, that lets you know that they had ancient horses in America before the Spaniards came over. Correct?
Right. I mean that's a very important detail that I think is clear here. I mean, there's many depictions of horses in this collection, like over 50, and some of them show people riding horses side saddle. So it's direct evidence of horses being used by people and being ridden by people, and so it's good evidence that they were here before Europeans. And I know there's the typical story that Europeans brought horses and there were no horses, but that's just not the case. I mean, even um, on sacred scrolls of the Southern Ojibwe and winter counts, um, there were horses drawn. So I mean, the theory that there were no horses before Europeans, it shouldn't even continue. It's just not correct.
Thank you for clearing that up. Thank you.
Thank you. And this B symbol is an important Yuchi tribal symbol. This one is it has these radiating lines coming from the side and is carefully, intricately carved. This one looks a lot like the stela or tablets from the Iberian Peninsula. So these lines are weathered and engraved. I mean, weathered after the engraving. I mean, this is a sign of great age, and the B symbol is an important clan symbol as well to the Yuchi, and so it's represented in the collection as well. And there's some symbols like the beaver. Well, this one has a beaver tail patch, but it looks almost like an alligator or a wolf head on it. So as we go through, we'll see more of this. There's pelican. The pelican clan is represented. There's the owl clan. There's goose or partridge. There's a lot of figurines show the branching trees and very carefully drawn or carved engravings of steatite. And there's some that show multiple levels of birds. Like there are many that show bird species, and this this looks like two different types of birds that were drawn with the branching symbols above them. And then there's like this. There could be a dove or this one. It's hard to tell. It's some kind of bird. There's also loon figurines, and the loon figurines have the chip back on them. There's the goose. There's a lot of goose figurines in the collection as well, and the partridge. This is a really good example of a partridge figurine. These are extensive. I mean, there's 2,500 of these in the collection. Currently, these are located at the Valentine Museum in Richmond, Virginia. And the others were at the University of North Carolina and at the Smithsonian. So they're all currently not on display. They're all locked in vaults or in drawers that just they haven't seen the light of day since they were found in 1880. I mean, most of them you have to get a special permit to even look at these. And there's turkey figurines. There's other bird species like this one here. It's very artistically made, and like some of them show feet. Well, this is obviously a human foot figurine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's other bird species here with branching lines coming up off of it, and things like this. The bird shown. There's hawk figurines as well. Bald eagle is shown. Eagle's an important symbol as well, and you can see these are possibly sparrowhawk and eagle. And then there's branching tree figurines, and the branching tree is a clan symbol as well. And there's turkey with the branching trees coming off the top of it. There's others that have the branching tree engraved in the sides of the stones. And this one rather artistically shows the bears climbing up the side of the branching tree, bending over, and then two other bears climbing on the other side. And so these are really different. They're all unique, and they're all very intricately carved and created. This one is like a crane figurine with a person on one side, and it's multiple layers. So there's levels of carving at the top and the bottom. And there's Thunderbird, or what appears to be a Thunderbird with a mohawk figurine. And we know that's a clan symbol as well. This one looks like two geese or possibly cranes facing each other on the top, and then this sound wave or swooping pattern on the middle, and then there's an alligator symbol below that. So it's almost like two clan symbols, including the crane and the alligator. With this could be the sound waves or some kind of a motion and engraved in the stone. And thunder, I mean, the crane symbol is the symbol of thunder. So this could be the sound of thunder. I mean, the booming thunder of a crane symbol. And that's part of it attributed to that clan of the Thunderbird and the crane.
Yes, sir.
And this one here is a wolf. There was wolf or coyote symbols, and a lot of canine symbols that were carved very intricately and clearly representing wolf. And then the lynx or puma, I guess, clan, the cat, these cat-like symbols with the lines emanating from the heart outwards were depicted as well. And this one, very intricately carved. You can see it has these zigzagging lines, and it's carved with a platform base, and so it's completely incised on all sides and on the base, and the legs are out extended away from the side. So I mean, these were very carefully created art pieces. And there's other links or even spotted the images that kind of look like panther or spotted panther and bears. There's the images just go on and on with amazing detail, and the craftsmanship is amazing. And there's bears that look like they're holding a human and maybe even a skull. And we know the bear clan is an important symbol. Blood is bear blood, or blood is associated with a clan as well. And the grizzly bear is a symbol of a clan that's represented. These were in a fire, and they smell like smoke still. To hold them or touch them, and they still have the smell of smoke on them from being in a fire. And there's some that look like they're holding something up to their mouth to eat it, or just we know the bear clan. One of the bear clans is the bear liver, and so it could be a representation of the Macacon, the bear's liver clan. There was many different materials represented as well. Some of them were sandstone or white or reddish sandstone. Some are pottery or clay, and a lot of times these are touching what looks like an altar. They seem to either be touching an altar with their hands and feet on many of the examples. So I think that's important because they were like penitent or religious symbols of touching the altar. They oftentimes would have this cross-hatched altar in the front of the figurine, and they're reaching out to touch it. And there's this one is a bear on one side, and the other side has a male and female figurine. And there's bears embracing this. There's many examples of those. The bear was the most quantity of any of the figurines. There were over 56 bear figurines in this collection. And a lot of them showed two bears facing each other, like embracing. So the Nuki group, I guess, is the bear clan. And it says the bear was the largest clan, so large it had to be divided into the parts of the bear, like the head of the bear, the feet, as well as the different types of bears, the black bear and the grizzly bear. And then there was the crab clan as well, or crayfish. And so that was represented. And that's an important symbol because it's a clan symbol of the Anishinaabe, and it's also an Ojibwe clan symbol. There's some discussion in the sacred scrolls about the crab symbol in fourth degree scrolls. So this crab symbol is often considered an evil Manitou or evil spirit animal. In the scrolls, they talk about it as being a bringer of evil. The crab clan is one of the important ones. Then there's the merman. So this symbol looks like two brothers, one putting the hand around the other, and then it has this fish-like tail coming off of the back that resembles a man with a fishtail. So I think this could be a representation of the merman clan. And as we saw this one, it looks like multiple clan symbols, possibly an alligator combined with a beaver tail and a wolf head. Maybe a combination of that and the merman clan. I mean, it's hard to say, but some of these have multiple clans represented. And then there's the otter figurines. The otter clan is an important one. Many of the figurines showed otters, and on this example, it's touching an altar again, and then touching its mouth, reaching up to touch, and kneeling. I mean, the otter appears to be kneeling, with one hand touching the altar, and the other reaching out to touch its mouth. And there's three otters represented here, and the otter on the back has its hind legs spread to touch the altar. The other two are kneeling. So it's really interesting how they depicted that. See, these are the two hind legs of the otter reaching out to touch the altar. And then there's this is another picture of that one in particular, showing otter clan. Then there's the frogs. There were a lot of frog figurines or aquatic marine life covered in cross hatching as well, but apparently damage from the fire it was exposed to, and a lot of them have fire damage or fire cracking evident. And the Valentine Museum said these were in an admirable state of decrepitude when they were excavated. So they had been in a fire and worn or weathered for a long time. And there's some that show the snake figurines and the crisscrossing of the snake. There's a lot of them that have snakes engraved on the side of one side, and then the other two sides will have the different figurines like human or animal carvings. Like you can see here, some of our stela. I mean, these are clear stela with serpent figurines, and then there's others that look like the fox or possibly raccoon. And people, I mean, people are depicted on these. Humans are make up about half of the figurines. The others are about half represented as animals. And some, like this one, shows a snake, looks like a person holding a snake up in the air, and the other person touching it. It's hard to say. There's a lot of them that show like a lodge symbol with bears, and this pentagon shape almost represents a house or a lodge. A lot of these seem to have that 5-sided figure of a pentagon representing a house or a lodge. And you can see that one had 2 bears on it. There's snake figurines and fish. There was a lot of fish figurines as well. There's even whales and things like a narwhal with a horn on its head. I mean, there were an amazing variety of aquatic, marine, and ocean life figurines depicted. Painted turtles were in the collection. There were alligators and snapping turtles represented. And these are all clan symbols. So I'm just showing these to compare. Like the snapping turtle is a clan symbol, and it was represented well in the figurines. There was a lot of fish represented. There was squirrel represented. The squirrel clan was represented as well with figurines that were carved, and the skunk was clan as well represented in the figurines with a lot of intricate carving and very carefully detailed branches. These could be cedar branches or some kind of but it looks like it's holding a turtle. Almost, I think this could be a representation of a turtle here that it's holding in its paws.
Yeah, the skunk.
Yeah, and it could be like a skunk clan holding the turtle clan, or maybe that's his babies, the turtle clan, represented as the parent, the baby being the turtle. It's hard to say. This one is another skunk figurine with the tail up this time, and these lines like it's about to spray. So these were all engraved with these branching cedar-like or cross-hatching images on the side, and just intricately carved. And there were coyote or fox figurines, as well as mink, even rabbit. There were rabbit figurines that were also carefully incised on all sides. And rabbit, and this is another rabbit figurine that apparently looks like a stela. The rabbit was very well created here. And there's one of the interesting ones is a porcupine figurine. The porcupine quills shown horizontally here, and then on the back, this shows the spikes of the porcupine standing up. This one in particular is very similar to Ming Dynasty types of figurines that were found that look like porcupines, almost identical in shape and size to the way they depicted it here. and those were at the Smithsonian as well. But this one in particular, um, it compares well with those Ming Dynasty ones that were, and they said they were dated to 600 AD with the same type of porcupine figurine. And there's others that look like they have punctates or dots representing the quills, possibly. So that was one thing that stands out. A lot of the human figurines have these dots, like from porcupine quills, around their collars or on their outfits, like where it would be an indication of porcupine quill embroidery. So they could have been wearing the porcupine quill embroideries around their collars and on their shirts. And this is uh, another animal reaching to touch the altar and looking upwards towards the sky. And it almost looks like a muskrat or a small animal. And this one here is bending its back quite a bit and trying to eat this animal. These this could be a marten, like a marten dodomer clan, falling into the little paws clans. And then there was the hoofed animals like the bull, and this one is on a very stout block of steatite with cross hatching on all sides of it. And the bull is depicted well. There were other examples like with the uh, lightning or zigzag pattern on them that was found on the bison figurines like this. But this is a pottery. I mean, this is a steatite bowl. It's about a foot diameter. It's very large, and it's been obviously broken or battered. But it had this zigzag pattern, which is found on a lot of the bison figurines, like this one. And the zigzag pattern tend to show up quite a bit in this on the surfaces of these stones. And this one looks like almost a elongated, uh,
Mr.
so like it's
Mr.
indication.
Vincent,
Yes, yes. Go ahead. Sorry. Can
yeah.
you?
It's really bad weather down here, so if my power go out, it will fall. But I would ask my I would ask my nephew to continue the show just in case if the power go out on this end. But go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Hopefully the power stays on there and we can continue. But this one looks like a bison or a elongated torso, and a lot of the depictions showed this cross hatching, but this could be an indication of movement, like the body's moving quickly, and um, there were some that looked like rhinoceros, like this one, literally a white rhino with a single horn on the front of its face, and we thought that it could have been like a hog, but with the horn on its face, a tusk. I mean, it would indicate a rhino, and we know that's a sub-Saharan African, South African animal. I mean, it's been a long time since I think those would have been in North America. They said the other day it could have been in North America around 50,000 BC time frame. But if it's from South Africa, then that would indicate either a connection from there or someone who knew what it looked like. That's an interesting one. And there's a lot of other bison figurines with the cross hatching or zigzag pattern. And like this bison figurine has careful engraving all over the back and sides. And again, these were all in a fire. There's a soot or fire smell to each one of them, like they had been burned. And when they were found in a fire, it looked like, well, Valentine said he thought they were exposed to a general burning of the building, and like these were all burnt in the building when the building was destroyed. And that was similar to the story that De Soto told when he came to the village of Kofuta. They burnt the temple down. And well, there's other ones like this, the stag or the elk and there's the deer with a tail, with a long tail extending from it, and cross hatching on all sides. And so these were very carefully made to represent the caribou or deer clan, and that's another important clan. Like this one here representing an elk, and these are the Hood subdivision. These were important subdivisions. So those are just some of the um, examples, but there's really a 1-to-1 ratio. Each of the clans that were associated with the Ojibwe, Anishinaabe, or any, or even the local tribes, the Cherokee, and every single clan symbol is represented in this collection. So this would indicate that it was the ancestor shrine, and that these were purposefully compiled there and collected as an ancestor shrine. So any questions on those before we, I guess I could move on to the next slides if there's no questions. Well, I'm glad that Rick,
I like
Chris
to
joined.
say that yes, dealing with. All right. Hey, how y'all doing? Rick, how you doing? Chris, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I would like to comment on something Vince discussed a little bit, and that is the smell of smoke. As he mentioned, all of those have the smell of smoke. One of them smelled like coal smoke. The rest of them smelled like wood smoke. So I don't know what that actually means. Maybe it was exposed to a different type of wood smoke, but it smelled like coal smoke to me. These are the ones at Valentine.
Right. I think you mentioned all the others smelled like wood, like a hickory or.
Yeah, some kind of hardwood.
Yeah. So, well, we know that they were all burned in the building, and it's possible that just the smell of the smoke got on their surfaces, and it's hard to tell. But when Ben Valentine wrote a letter in 1880, he described the smell of smoke on them, and he said that all were burnt like that. And so this was something that likely occurred during the time the building was burnt down. And it would coincide well with the thermoluminescent results that we found, where they had been burned, and this reset the thermoluminescent clock. So they said the burning would have been within the last 100 years after or before they were excavated. So it likely occurred between 1780 to 1880, which is around the same time the Cherokee were forced to leave the area.
Right. But it's also 200 to 300 years after DeSoto said that the temple burned. So I don't know how to read that.
Right. So it's hard to tell, but there were carbon dates from DeSoto in the report from the archaeologists that they said 411 years ago was their time frame of a carbon date found in the mound, and that would coincide with DeSoto. But the thermoluminescent result, they were, I think they were not clear, or didn't give us a real good report on what they were finding, because even the Virginia conservator said it looks at 1,000-year periods. So they were not being very precise or helpful, I think, with the dating. And they said they didn't do a thorough report for us on the dating from the thermoluminescence. So, I wouldn't put a lot of, stock in the 100-year date. I think it's more likely that this was associated with DeSoto.
Well,
Peace.
I would
What's
tell you
going on?
this
What's
about the
going on,
smoke.
everybody? Who is that? Who is that?
This pop.
Let's see.
This
So
speaking.
I haven't shown myself yet, but there are a few things that you touched on, Mr. Vince, that I would like to just simply show if I can real quick. It's gonna take about 30 seconds, but I'm gonna share my screen and show you a few of those effigies, or those animals that you have, which may seem rare, like we spoke on yesterday, right? When I was explaining that a lot of these animals that people say or may consider, or think that they're not originally American, they actually do have American origins. So I'm about to add that screen, and I'll just simply touch on a few of them. Let's see.
And
I'm
while you
bringing
do
up
that,
the
and while you
laptop.
do that, nephew, I'll say something about the rhino. Most people don't know is that we actually had rhino medicine. So yes, the rhino was over here because we actually had rhino medicine. And my nephew Ray Crane, he know what I'm talking about. So yeah, they had the white rhino over here and everything. So that was dealing with rhino medicine.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's interesting.
And also about the smoke that you smell, the same wood that was used to actually help cook the potteries is also the same wood that we use for barbecue.
Yes, hickory in particular.
Yeah.
Now, one other thing about the rhinos, the woolly rhino supposedly disappeared at the end of the Pleistocene, at least from North America. However, some of the tribes, particularly the Great Lakes tribes, have living oral history that goes back to that time when those animals were still alive. So the description
Mhm.
that was used to make the figurines could be part of that living oral history. Just my 2 cents
Exactly.
on
That's something I touched on yesterday. Someone made a point or kind of an example, like, well, this group of people could have migrated over here and explained to the native people what they looked like, and the native people made them, and they got left here. And I'm like, nah, it's a lot of stories about these different animals. Um, from these, from these ancient time periods, that we even have today. So to write it off as, it may just come from over here, nah, we have to expand that thought.
Right. And that's interesting about the medicine, the rhino medicine, because the medicine clan was another, important clan. And is there more info about what type of medicine and where'd they get that? And um, it's quite interesting. It may have been, something that they, that was, you know, part of the medicine clan.
I don't know if there's a site down south that has, so
Well,
many
well,
di-
the
diff-
rhino was one of
forgive me. Please go. I'll continue, please.
oh, you got the floor, mother. Go ahead. You have the floor.
I'm going next. It's your time, please.
I yield the floor to the matriarch. I pass the talking stick to you.
Okay. So, yeah, the rhino, I mean, that have that as a possibility of being a part of the medicine clan. I mean, the rhino, um, as an important symbol, then that would be a clan symbol as well, and possibly the medicine clan. I just think that that's a really interesting connection.
What I'll say is, what I touched on yesterday, medicine was definitely more of a society, because every clan had their own medicine, right? And not everybody's medicine dealt with everyone. So not everybody was even privy to the knowledge of every family, right? So we're looking at more of a society, or as I said yesterday, like a priesthood.
Cool. So in the southeast, I'm wondering if there's any sites like Powers Bluff, Wisconsin, where there were 300 different plants and herbs that medicine people came and they could go to one spot and get there. Um, same thing with the islands, Channel Islands, 150 different herbs, kind of in one spot. Just wondering if there are places like that in the southeast.
Of course, if you study works like, for instance, with Clark Larson, excuse me, when you deal with Saint Catherine, Saint Helena, and when you even go into later cultures like the Irene sites that are on coastal Georgia, you get into the fauna, you get into the different food types and the different actual plants that were used for medicine. Botany, as a science, actually assisted us with this and showed us the effects of maize on groups like the Wale, right? We know that maize isn't indigenous to the southeastern United States. So when we look at things like maize being used as a medicine, or simple things like that, sawgrass, or I can invite our medicine man up here who can give you hundreds. But those are areas that you can look into. Um, and they have extensive work, right? I have thousands of pages on this work. So look into Albert Goodyear, Dr. Al Goodyear. Oh my God, I could name many. I can send you a list of anthropologists that deal in the coastal area and even in the Piedmont. So,
Because I'll tell you
but
just a crazy just follow up from Dr. James P. Shears today. He thought that this underwater Cuba site being, possibly 60,000 years old, but that the Yuchi were traders from India that were in the Caribbean and moved up the Mississippi River. So forgive me for being random, but just, that maybe an origin of the Caribbean up to the Mississippi for the Yuchi traders from India is a possibility. So forgive me.
no, that's in our story. That's not something we deny. We understand that the Yuchi actually migrated up. How would you say it? Island hopping, until they made their way to Cahokia as priests. So we understand that. Their exact origin, some may say South America, some even put them on Easter Island, but we know them as salt traders and as priests. So that's not something that we deny. It's actually something that we speak about and I've written about in my book, The Green Fire, Volume 2.
So excited to read it and share it. So thank you for that great answer.
So, no problem. Our medicine man is in the comments. He mentioned Topper site. I showed Topper site yesterday. Topper site is a minimum 50,000 years. And that's dealing in the savannah, right? So we're talking about uh there's this work I would like for you to look up, for you to check out, Rick. Write this down or type it for me. It's called Out of Florida: The Examination of the South American Migration Model. And what it explains is there's proof that people came down into the Caribs and into South America and ran into a new people who were there, and that's where you get these different admixtures. That's how you get these new traders coming into different parts of the lands and things like that. So you will find haplogroups A through D and even X in the low country or dealing with the Gullah. So I would like for you to check that work out.
Incredible. Thank you.
On the screen I have a rhinoceros bone, jawbone. This is actually in the Florida Museum, UFL. I showed the horse before. It's a few things that Mr. Vince touched on. Here's the snake dealing with on the gorget. So dealing with the what I call the Yama era or the Mississippian era. Um, Here's a frog pipe. You spoke on the frog effigies. So I would like to show you some frog effigies also. Let me see. Here are the effigies. So let's see. It should be clicking over real soon. One of these is slightly slower than the other. But you have frog effigies in the Mississippian era. Um, let's see if did it pull up yet? Yeah, it pulled up. What else we have? You have the jaguar, right? My clan, Wayapa. Um, so you have the jaguar actually existed in the southeast. And some claim that the jaguar left the southeast about 7,000 years ago. Um, I'm willing to challenge that science at any
So am I.
time. For
I've
the
seen
simple
one.
fact, yeah, and there are jaguars in Florida today.
There are
So
jaguars in Indiana today.
yeah, they're
Or,
coming back
or with
home.
one.
They're coming back home. Um, but many of these symbols, again, you and I agree, Rick. We're dealing with the people that already had knowledge of them. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I concur.
Yeah, they're in Louisiana and Texas too.
Yep, they coming back there in Arizona. For some reason, I don't know what's going on with the laptop. I'm actually plugged to the internet, but it's moving a little slow. Um, hmm, it's all good. So here's what they state that there's evidence that a small number of jaguars currently exist in Florida, right? So we have that here. They're coming back home. Then you have the cheetah. The cheetah has its origins in North America. And if the cheetah could have migrated, not could have, if the cheetah migrated into what we know as modern day Africa, or this cat migrated into modern day Africa to become what we know as the cheetah, what is the possibility that there were beings, human like or human, that followed the same path into Africa and then came back out? I don't know. That's just something I'm putting out there for the conversation. Mr. Vince, is your floor.
Right. And so it's interesting that they had depicted this, and they knew it existed, and so whether they saw it in Africa and or communicated somehow to get that information about it and then made the figurine, I think that's really important. And one of the books I have that talks about the symbolism of the bears is called the Sacred Scrolls of the Southern Ojibwe. And in this book, it shows the bears resting on a square object that looks, I thought it could be like an altar, but the interpretation is that this is the bear and drum, the square being a drum symbol. So I could be wrong, and maybe it's not an altar, maybe it's just a representation of the drum, and that they were using these symbols to represent playing the drum. And the Ojibwe, it was important in all native cultures. The drum was a critically important object in ritual and in dance, and so these crosshatch figurines, they could represent playing the drum. And there's a lot of other connections in this book, like the branching tree symbol. Well, he describes it as headless fish, the evolution of the headless fish, and that the branching tree is actually a symbol of the headless fish. Blessing writes, the headless fish spirits, which have never been explained in great detail, are said to form from the guardian spirit that which watches over all the functions of the medicine lodge, much in the same manner as bears. And he says they are capable of relentless retaliation against anyone who fails to live up to the MIDI teachings. So there's pretty good connection there throughout this book on the sacred scrolls of the Southern Ojibwe, that these are possibly Midewiwin or Ojibwe symbols that are tied to the bear and the drum.
Yeah, and they've definitely been here for about 15,000 years themselves. Um, let's see. Rick asked the question about the plants. I have our medicine man, our big medicine man, on the phone. The lead healer, he can answer that question about the plants. Rick, when you asked about plants at the mound complexes.
Yeah, at the rhinoceros horn, or I should say rhinoceros medicine. I'm wondering if maybe that was used for
Oops.
You had cut out. What was the last thing you said?
I was asking if the rhinoceros medicine was used, as it is today in some countries, to treat erectile dysfunction.
Yes, that's one of the things. It also was used to cure inflammation in the body and also certain stomach issues. It was
Like yellow
also
root.
used to make a powder to also put a certain initiate in a trance-like state of mind.
I didn't know that one.
Early Africans also knew about the power of the rhinoceros horn and bones due to the early interactions with natives over here in America. Trade routes,
Long ones.
exactly. And
One other thing you mentioned earlier was that the Yuchi were salt traders. Did I catch that correctly?
Right.
So I don't know if you're aware of it, but there's a Canadian anthropologist. Her name is Genevieve von Petzinger, and she has studied ancient symbols that she found in caves all over the world. And the largest set of symbols that she has found has been in Europe. But all of the caves and all of the symbols seem to be about the same age, at about 40,000 years, including the ones in North America. The European set and the North American set share two symbols that appear nowhere else in the world. And I am 100% certain that one of those symbols represents salt, probably the single oldest traded commodity known to man. And by the way, if you look at Morton Salt Box, it is encoded in that symbol itself.
You know those circles that show up in the southeast, as I spoke on yesterday, come from also a dark-skinned group of Europeans. And there are also a pale-skinned group of Europeans known in the Iba'a or in a town named Duhar, right? That's Duhare. So the culture, when we talk about the culture, we're talking about not just race or ethnicity. We're talking about business. We're
Correct.
talking about business. How do we get shit done? This is why
Commodity trading.
TB means salt in the Yuchi language. Rick, we know what's going on here.
Yep. It was always about business and how you could get what you wanted by trading things that you had to someone who wanted that thing, just like it is today. You might be working online, selling your skills in IT or whatever, but it's so you can get those commodities that you want. That's what we
And
do.
also right here in Misnomer, Louisiana, where the Bagula or the Iska is actually have one of the largest salt mine that's right here in Bagula territory, which became known as the Napoleonville or White Castle. And this is where you also dealing with the salt because the pepper that was bought from South America, that's how you wind up getting your Louisiana hot sauce because salt was the main ingredient for the hot sauce. And that was right
Yes,
here in Louisiana, right here in Bagula territory. And that's why you got Tabasco, which is also a Mayan city that's down there in South America, or Tabasco, as they say.
Don't forget the vinegar.
and vinegar.
Yeah, the
Right.
That is
vinegar.
an
Yeah,
important part of it.
Right.
But
And
this
speaking on
yeah,
that, I did want to interject. Um, by you saying the Bayogula, that made me think of it because earlier he showed effigies. He said about something about the crab or the crayfish, the crawfish. So
the
the
crawfish.
alligator, yeah, the crawfish and the alligator are totems of the Bayogula, and the
Yes,
red one is the war symbol, the red one. So he was saying that some viewed it as evil, but it is a war symbol. It means war, representing bravery and things of that nature. But Pa, I can speak on that a little more.
Did you find out what the blue
right.
crayfish represented?
Tell us.
Peace.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, it was dealing with peace and war, and you had both of them that actually built mounds, and also
And yeah,
in the Shatta language, the red crawfish was called shaka shauma in the Shatta
Yes.
language. So
Yes.
that was dealing with. So that's why I saw when he was speaking about the crawfish or the crab. That's basically down here in Louisiana, which was also a part of the Yuba'a territory.
right. And speaking
So
of that, right, dealing with the red and the blue, that also shows who has the ancient blood. Notice many tribes say their peace and war is red and white. But when you notice, we said our mercy and vengeance is blue and red. That's because blue and red are literal opposites. So, and it deals with other things like the clay, right? So we have the blue clay. You talked about the yellow clay, but no one spoke on how blue and yellow clay was used for paints or used to classify different societies. So if you came out in blue paint or dressed in blue, we knew that your father was somebody who dealt in politics. He dealt in the business. If you wore
and it,
gold or yellow or brown, we knew your father was a medicine man. If you wore red, we knew your father was a warrior. However, your bloodline still went through your mother. So this is why you may see a guy
right,
on a deer because he's deer clan, but he has a snake around his neck, letting you know he's a healer, he's a priest. So every
right,
family
right,
consisted or was birthed from these women but was built off of these men in different societies. So that's what we're looking
right.
at when we're looking at these
well,
different animals and how they're anthropomorphized.
colors also played a big role in the different societies, but with the Cherokee in particular, since we're talking about the Pisgah relics, the directions were associated with a color. Blue was south,
Right.
black was west, and it was death and evil and a whole bunch of things. Um, the seven sacred directions is I have on the dashboard of my truck a tinker toy with six spikes on it, and of course the seventh direction is inward. But the blues,
Yes.
born in the south, is a mood as well as a direction and a powerful part of Cherokee magic. White was happiness, white
Mhm.
was gaiety, et cetera, et cetera. So there are a lot of things about the colors, particularly in the Cherokee, that mirrors things they learned probably from or alongside the Maya, as an example, because they had meanings, different meanings for each and every syllable in their language, depending on the
That
context in which it was used.
definitely, definitely. And that group of Maya is the priesthood. This is what's missing. That's the Yuchi or the Ani Kutani that the Cherokee claim to have killed. But if you listen to the word Kutani, you know that's not a Cherokee word. That's number one. Number two, we know that the Cherokee syllabary looks almost exactly like the Yuchi pre-syllabary, which Traveling Bird actually brought back to the world. So that's number one. Number two, when we listen to the word Katani and we do a linguistic study, we find out that it's cognate with words like coda, right? Like Lakota, somebody that's a brother, a friend, or an ally. We find out that it's similar to the Mobilian word Kutani, which means a sorcerer or a fire priest,
Yeah.
or the Catawba
Mhm.
word Katani, which means an elder brother or your mother's brother-in-law. So we're
or
dealing
teacher.
with the brotherhood, the Tosi Taniwano Yadaha, the brotherhood of the sacred pipe. That is what the Cherokee and the Muskogee brought down during their migrations across the West. This is what the Lenape took down on their migrations across, from the West into the East. So,
So
Rick, we know what's going on.
yeah.
I would say it
Well,
every time.
the other part of that whole story is they had a writing system. The Cherokee used theirs, but every tribe, every clan had their own unique uh, version. I'll put it that way. But they could pretty much all read it the same. And like the Maya, each syllable was represented by a character. And as I mentioned, it had different meanings depending on the context in which it was used. But what has been unsaid and unexplored for roughly 300 years now is that they had a way of transmitting messages through the air using light by reflection or by louvered lantern style, and that people could read it at a distance. And you didn't have to send runners. You didn't have to send written messages on parchment or on bark or anything. You just sent these flashes
Oh,
of
now
light.
see,
And
we're getting into the quartz culture.
yes, we are.
We're getting into
And the
electromagnetism. We're getting into science.
Uh-oh.
Well, no, not really. We're getting into how people used what they had available. Like, for instance, the torch keepers, the people of the torch of the Great Lakes regions. And they also had other roles within the overall continental society, if I can put it that way. The Ho Chunk, the Potawatomi, all of the cultures around the
Right.
Great Lakes had a role in, let's say, patrolling the rivers, keeping the order on the rivers because everybody had to use the river. And they,
I would like not to cut your wisdom, Rick, but I like to correct a person right quick. When they say Yama, Yuchi, Maya, weren't equal invaders. Well, they wasn't invaders because they didn't come with war. The invaders was the ones that came with war. Go ahead, Rick.
yeah, yeah, but everybody used a writing system. That
Actual
was my point.
facts.
Yeah.
Right, like and this site in particular, it had the important commodity of steatite being nearby, and mica. Mica and steatite were critically important, and like Rick mentioned, these may have been used for mirrors, like the steatite. The mica may have been used as a mirror for communication or for some purpose. It seems to
Right.
be important because they found mica sheets 1 inch thick and about the size of boards in the site. Mica was traded throughout the Midwest and throughout the country, and
Throughout
it
the
was
continent.
the continent, right? And it was a very important.
Actual facts. Yep.
And so I think that's one of the main attractions or reasons for the site's power, and the steatite as well. I mean, steatite, this is the biggest outcropping of steatite in the country at the Mount Pisgah site.
A lot of my work has been about this line of sight communications thing, and another class of artifact that goes along with that is a stone tube. It'll probably be about 10 to 12 inches long. It'll have a channel running the length of that is anywhere from 3/8 to a half inch in diameter, and it was used to sight whatever point on the horizon that you wanted, from which you wanted to receive your message. And these things are ubiquitous. You go to any major mound site, Great Mound in Ohio, Grave Creek Mound in West Virginia. Cahokia had a bunch of them. There were several at Pilot Mountain. And you just focus it on your object or your station that's downrange, and it keeps you from being distracted by other lights in the sky or on the horizon. Interestingly, these things are also found all over the Giza Plateau. So this had to have been a worldwide phenomenon.
Mr. Rick, those those type of telescope things that you're talking about or whatnot, were there different color crystals at the end of them to communicate different messages?
No, as far as we can tell, no one has ever found one that had any kind of lensatic function. It was strictly a geometric filter, just keeping your eye on the ball. And the reason I got onto this is because I was at Yuma Test Range, or Yuma Range, Marine Corps Training Center, and the scoring station at this small arms range was a pipe affixed to the ground, and you could only see one spot that happened to be the impact. If it hit within sight of that pipe, it was a score. Anything else just didn't count. So,
May I ask about the crystals at the end before Vince continues?
please.
Yes. Go ahead.
Did you
I,
know of
I
some crystals affixed to stone tubes?
No, I was just asking the question because it's reminding me of
Well,
something.
we know that there was
What'd you say, Paul? The reason
well,
I mentioned crystals or different color crystals is because it
I
reminds me of
know
something
from
I've seen in
what was passed
African
to me
artifacts.
on
oh, African artifacts. Cool. Thank you.
Sudanese and the Dogon in them, they actually had that as well.
Thank you.
You said the Hopi and the Dogon. Is that what you said, Pa?
No, I said the Dogon and the ancient Somalians, the
Oh, okay.
Sudanese, the ancient Sudanese, and the
Thank you
Dogon.
so much.
Yeah, a lot of people were interested in the skulls, the bones that you had. Did you have any slides of that, Vince?
Yes, I could bring that up and show that. Just a second.
Peace to everybody in the chat. We thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate Nephew Wale Origin for this collab today, and to all our panel today. Thank
Yes,
you.
we are
Okay.
right.
Thank you. Never a
And don't be
problem.
afraid to ask your
Since you
questions,
said that, I
everybody.
went ahead and changed the background to the green fire for a little bit.
Yeah, we coordinating, collaborating.
Okay, can everybody see the screen?
Which one? This one? This one? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to go right to the skulls so we can talk about that. It's an interesting thing here.
I'm trying. There we go.
Okay, so this is found. It's labeled Wells Mound skull with parts of lower jaw and a Wells Mound. This was in the book from Mount Pishka, and we reached out to Elizabeth. She said this skull was heavily damaged from post-mortem destruction or damages, and her thought was that this skull or this person had died from a dental infection on the lower jaw, and that this area over here where the tooth is shown would have been horrific, and she said it could have caused the death with blood poisoning from a dental infection. And she said that this skull is it's clearly, she said, it was adult male, elderly, because of the eruption of the tooth, the molars, and so she said it's above 40 years old or so, adult male. And but her thought was, I asked her if she could identify the race or the tribe or anything. She said no, she couldn't tell because there's too much damage to it. It's not. She said that because of this post-mortem damage, it's not possible to tell what race it is. And I asked her about this hair. It looked like woolly hair on the base of the skull. She said she thinks that's just like a prop for holding the skull up, like hay or moss or something that they put there for propping it up, and that it's not actually hair from the skull. That was what her opinion was. And so, I asked her that if this is a bullet hole in the side of the skull, because it almost looks like radiating fractures from a bullet, and I ratioed off the size of this, what looks like a hole in the skull, comparing to the teeth, and it would be at least 45 caliber, and possibly up to 65 caliber, which is right in the same range that DeSoto would have used with his Arbucus guns. It looks like, that it was shot. And she said she wasn't sure it could have been done anytime post-mortem, but that she agreed that this cracking and the discoloration and the differences in color would have been an indication that this happened after death. And she said, all of the damages and destruction to the skull were after death or post-mortem damages. And she said because it's missing the sternum and the frontal area of the skull, she thinks that's also a sign of post-mortem damages, that the skull was kicked around so much or damaged. Those were the parts that would break off first. She said those are the most fragile parts that would disappear or to be broken off. And I asked her about these apparent blows to the back of the head that are dark marks on the skull. She said that could be post-mortem too, because it's discolored. It's not the same as the other part of the skull, so that she thinks these are all just post-mortem damages. And even this scraping or battering of the brow and the front of the skull, she said that this is an indication of post-mortem damages. I asked her if she thinks this is a prehistoric or historic skull. She said it could be either prehistoric or historic. It's hard to tell. But one thing to note is that the other picture of the excavation, it looks like this is the skull that was depicted, because it has a similar type of fracturing, and it would be facing with the bullet hole facing down would indicate that it was rotated or moved from one side to the other before it was found. And this is the picture of the mound that was excavated. You can see it's covered or filled with charcoal or burning from the building. There's evidence of charcoal. And then over here is a coffin, a wooden coffin or box that was in the mound as well. And so this is, I think, when they first excavated it, and the crew showed up and they found it. They took a picture of what it looked like. And it's in this book at the Valentine Museum. I did some research to find out if the Valentine Museum still has it. And it looks like around 1990, they deaccessioned the skulls and funeral remains, and they were returned to the Cherokee. the museum published on their website that they did return all human remains to the Cherokee around 1990. And so this was probably part of that if it was still in their collection at that time. And so, but the thought that this person died of blood poisoning from this tooth decay or dental problem, and then, you know, the Soto Chronicles documented this horrible treatment of the ancestor shrine that in the Chronicles, it says that they knocked over the coffins, they kicked around the skulls and destroyed everything they possibly could. And, you know, this would be good evidence of that it was coinciding with the story that they had and their journal records of the Soto conquistadors. And it's horrible. I mean, it's horrible treatment that they did. And, but this is probably the only, you know, direct link to the Soto's, you know, destruction and that still exists today. I mean, in this picture.
Okay.
Are there any questions on that?
I did have a question, but there's something that I would like to show. Something I wanted to build on what you were speaking on, or to add on what you were speaking about,
Okay.
dealing with the skull. Hold on. Oh, here we go. I have to use the laptop. For some reason, it's moving a little slow tonight, but that don't matter. I want to go to these these skeletons in Jamestown. I'll see if I can pull this up. These are some skeletons in Jamestown. Let's see. Are we on the screen? No. Hmm. What's going on? Let me check this real quick. Why y'all doing me dirty? Hold on, y'all. Bear me one moment. I think I have to pull your screen down. Let me pull this screen down.
Okay.
Add to stage, and let's see. Because I know you said the woman stated that she don't know if that's wool. You said she doesn't know if that was wool that was put there. You said,
Right. I asked her, this looks like hair. I mean, she said, oh, she thought it was hay or some kind of hay that was used to prop up the skull. And I don't know um, anything else other than she thought it was not hair and that it was hay, but it sure looked like hair to me.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I'm looking at this comment here too. I'll address that. I want to address that also. But for some reason, they doing me dirty. I guess they don't want me to show the screen. However, oftentimes what we see is that skeletons, because craniology is a science um, that a lot of people like to overlook, but it really can show you that these different groups uh, are more related than many think them to be, right? And oftentimes, scientists and or the powers that be tend to want to reclassify these different skeletons and bones, and they like to hide different things for whatever reason. Um, being that I can't pull up my screen, I'm literally here looking at my screen, and they're not letting me pull it up for you all.
Try
In
it again.
Virginia, say it again.
Try it again.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. They keep disconnecting me from StreamYard on the laptop. I have no clue why. Now my screen is
Try
white.
to try to close one of your screens. I don't know which. I know you on the P2 and then the HI.
Yeah, I have to have them both
Oh,
open.
okay. Okay.
I have to have them both open, but someone or something is stopping me from actually sharing the screen. Here we go. Finally. Here we go.
Little delay.
Yeah, I know what's going on. I know what's going on.
But that the hair on the back or hay as it may be was one of the reasons I reached out about this because I thought for sure it looked like creek or woolly hair that Paul had described in one of his articles that this was a physical trait of the creek and that this could be very strong evidence of that type of hair.
Yeah, very interesting that you said of the creek.
Uh, Took long enough, right? And then it fell off again. I don't know what's going on.
It's something is on the screen now. Jamestown skeletons.
Well, see, yeah, so it's all my devices then. It's clicking on and clicking off. But these skeletons that were found in Jamestown, I think it was in the 1600s and 1700s. I can't look at my screen. I don't, whatever. But they basically were classified as Native American or Negro, and they were reclassified. So they were originally classified as American Indian. And later they reclassified those same skeletons as being Negro.
Hmm.
This is the same state where quote unquote American Indians were also reclassified as being Negro simply because they may or may not have had what someone considered a Negro ancestor,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interesting part about that, and I can go off the dome if the screen doesn't share, it doesn't share. Anyone can grab the book Woodward's Reminiscence if you study the quote unquote Creek Indians. You will find in that book on page 130 that when it was is it James? I think it's James, but he's writing, here we go, popped up right here. But he's writing about Thomas Woodward's work. And he mentions that when Woodward speaks on the Yamasee, he says, I think he locates the Yamasee, I write from memory, in the middle and eastern portions of Florida, and says that they were occupying the country when the Creeks came, the Muskogee uh, invaders, right? Now, he describes the Yamasee as having dark skin, coarse hair, thick lips, and flat feet, and as having inferior implements of war to the Creeks. This was written 1819. Now, the thing is, when this war of extermination was waged by the Creeks, the Englishmen wrote it as if all of the Yamasee was extinct, but they were simply talking about one town. But another thing the English didn't understand is that the Yamasee itself was made up of many groups of people, all of which were considered to be Negro or Negroid at one point in time. Now, this is not to say they are African, which congressional records actually says. Right? Congressional records say that the Abasi are pre-Columbian Africans. But I just wanted to put this out there that um, there are remains that have been reclassified. There are people that have been and have disenfranchised. So all of this has to be studied. Also, you all can look up this work that was done in 1939. It was published under the direction of the Royal Anthropological Institute of Great Britain and Ireland. But what you will look for is Negro skeleton remains from the West Indies sites were found. So yeah, look up the Negro skeletons in the West Indies. And what was being debated is that there was a Negro physical type that inhabited the Virgin Islands in pre-Columbian times. I'm going to see if I can pull this screen up right here. One moment while I'm reading it. Let's see. Hold on. One moment. Let me get to it. Here we go. Boom. So it's going to pull up as I'm reading. But yeah. So in the West Indies, there were skeletons that were found that were said to be of the Negro type. Now, these skeletons that were of the Negro type were said to be pre-Columbian. However, scientists began to say, well, just because they have these eloquent burials, just because you find them in these mounds, doesn't mean that they belong there. They can actually be invaders. However, they haven't found anybody else in the mounds, only these so-called invading Negroes. So I'm not saying I get it, but I don't respect her work. Not her work, but I don't respect her answer if she knows better. So sorry for being winded and getting that cross.
No. I have a question. Do we know, and I think I read this once before, do we know what the stature was on these skeletons? Were they like almost 7 feet tall?
No, not at all. And I had that conversation with someone. I'm going to be completely honest with you. These people on average were between 5'9" and 5'11", and we're talking about men. The average man today is 5'6", 160 pounds. So at 5'9" or 5'11", they were still more robust than the average man today. However, when maize came into the land, their bones started to deteriorate, their bodies started to deteriorate. So that's for another conversation. But yeah, you had people being 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" was rare. So when they talked about the giants, they were speaking on people that was 6'2" or 6'4", like Red Crane, right? Those people, basketball players today are what we consider giants. It was like that back then. But even then, they were slightly bigger than the average man and woman today. And
Well,
you can look this up in the St. Catherine's works.
I ask because when Columbus logged his first encounters with the Tainos and the Caribs, who met his ships with dugout canoes that were longer than his ships, he described them as being quite tall, 7 feet, give or take, very beautiful, very muscular, very impressive individuals, but also very peace-loving, and he thought he could control them. And that stature of people was pretty much ubiquitous around the Gulf at that period of time. And that's why I was wondering about these particular skeletons.
And that's like, we also, when we take into the account of the average size of the Spaniard, we'll understand why someone 6'5" was seen as 7 foot, right? We're talking about someone whose average male was 5'4", 5'5". So they're looking up at someone who's 6'4", 6'5". And then even those giants we do have that are 7 foot, 7'1", right? 6'11", but that wasn't the average. So I definitely can say that much. Yeah, that wasn't the average.
So I will say that one of the strong points for authenticity of the site here was the bears that were eating human heads. And an archaeologist from Ohio said this is similar to the Siap Mound in Ohio. Siap Pricer had the bears eating human heads. And at the Siap Mound, they found figurines of humans that looked like African and Indian sculptures. And so then, that existed there. And here, the figurines of bears eating human heads was one of the strongest points that he said would authenticate this site and also connect it to possibly African remains, or the culture that brought that with them was shared between the Site Mound and this Garden Creek Mound.
Lord Best is a universal deity. I'll say that much.
Yes. And it symbolizes the sun symbol in the middle of the Mayan calendar, with the tongue hanging out. So they have a lot of similarities.
That's my father. That's why I was explaining about the bear and the jaguar, that sacred dance, right? Or the bear cat, right? That original unity between the feline and the canine family. Father best fathered us all. So we if you when you operate in the class system, you understand. So it's easy to see how all of this stuff is universal, right? uh I love it. Y'all have the floor. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Y'all know me, I gotta be up at 5. So everybody, Mr. Vince, thank you. And I got that. I appreciate you for that. Mr. Rick, thank you for having you on. Chris, we didn't get to talk today, but I salute you. Uncle Pa, thank you. And Auntie, as always, you have my heart. Thank you for this collab. I appreciate you very much. And before I go, all of that art that Mr. Vince showed is a testament to how great our mothers were. That is an
Sure
art
was.
of women. So all of that, everything you seen, think your mother, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, because that's who you would have had to protect in the clan system. And they the ones who kept us alive today. Even our grandmothers who had to hide us under titles like Black, Colored, African American, or whatever, just to keep us alive. You celebrate those women. So thank you all.
Yes. Thank you, Wado Yukoki, Shona Bischi, to everybody, the whole panel. We appreciate y'all and everybody in the chat.
Well, so yeah.
And we can definitely do a part two at a later date if everybody wants to come on in.
Sure thing.
Thank you. I learned so much. What a wonderful podcast.
Yes, we appreciate y'all. It was awesome. Any last words? Anybody want to do their plug right now? Anything that you all are working on that you want to advertise before we close
Chris,
out?
you're up.
No, I'm. We're good. I think I'm okay right this second. I just want to thank you for just the wonderful time here. So look forward to doing it again.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Much love, appreciation.
So I guess that's everyone. Y'all know me. As I always say, have a wonderful day. Don't do nothing crazy, because then people will take you to jail. Get you some good rest. Tomorrow's Monday. A lot of our children, or godchildren for me, are starting school. So make sure you get some rest too. Because while you may stress at work, we can't act like their systems aren't stressing our children. So much love to everybody who tuned in. Leave a like on this video, and please come back when we stop and go to the Southeastern Talking Stick and leave a comment. That way this video can get noticed. We'll see you all next week. Peace.